listening to Reignite, a podcast that does its best to deliver on a bit. I'm Frankie.
And I am Matt, a.k.a. Stormageddon.
And joining us as the first guest of this season is Colin Parker.
What? Me?
You?
Yeah, first guest of the season.
You've messed up. You've brought in the guest that's been screaming about this game immediately.
I feel like that's not us messing up, and that's entirely on brand and appropriate.
Possibly.
I feel like it was a necessary. We had to rip that Band-Aid right off. Just get it done.
That's true. That's fair. I was like, "Oh, are people ready to be yelled at this soon in the season?"
Apparently so. Colin, for those who could have possibly missed you over the last 3 seasons, why don't you just remind folks who you are and talk about how the Scavengers Network is doing? What's new and shiny since the last time we spoke?
Sure. So I'm Colin Parker. I'm the owner and head of the Scavengers Network, which is a online content creation network mostly geared towards podcasting. That's like 90% of what we do. We do a little bit of streaming, do a little bit of YouTube stuff, but podcasting is our bread and butter. The Scavengers Network is doing well. COVID times did kind of set us back because all of our plans for 2020 were specifically about doing more live shows and getting out there and doing stuff. And like immediately every plan we had to basically just get canceled. So there was a large scramble to go, what do we do now? Also, how long is this going to last? And it lasted way longer than I think most of us figured it might. I knew it was going to be a while, but not this long.
Yeah.
But we've been doing well. We've done things like we did a indie podcast showcase, which we're bringing back again next year with newer shows, newer guests and stuff like that. So we're going to try and keep doing that sort of thing every year if we can. And we've also started some new shows, brought on some new shows as well. We've added on a Boy Meets World fan cast show, and
nice.
It's such a delight. I love that show very much, and I get to appear on it very soon for my favorite Boy Meets World episode of all time, which is, they want you to take the roles, which is the best line of any television show ever. And we have a couple new ones that haven't come out yet, but are coming up soon. And the listener can't see me, but I'm currently wearing a hat for my new show, which is currently taking up probably the most amount of time that I do for Timeline Scavengers. It's a MCU podcast that goes scene by scene in historical order and putting the entire MCU timeline together. We're currently, at the time of recording this, in the very early stages of 1931. So we're going to be there for a while. We're currently doing 2 episodes a week. And when we hit Captain America in the middle of next year, we're going to start doing 3 times a week. Because if we don't do that sort of thing, we're never going to get to anything. Because like there's so many scenes, A, but B, we at one point had a sheet of confirmed scenes that we had to do episodes for, and it was over 4,000.
Wow.
And then Kevin Feige was like, hey, by the way, here's 24 new projects in the next 3 years. And I was like, I'm going to die. But it's such a blast. We've had some really great guests on the show. We've had some that haven't come out yet, so I can't quite mention them, but like they're bigger than we are as podcasters, which is very cool.
Cool.
But we've also had, other indie creators on the show. We've had Eric Martin, who wrote episode 4 and episode 6 of Loki on our show. So we've had some really great stuff going on already right at the beginning. So there's a lot going on at the network, but it's a lot of fun. And 2022, I think, is going to be like kind of back to, I don't want to say our heyday because we're still so young, but I feel like, we're going to be back where we should have been in 2020, basically.
Awesome.
So that's going to be fun.
Exciting.
That's really cool. I love that. Well, if you ever want someone to come on one of the episodes of Timeline Scavengers to flail about Hawkeye at any point in the timeline,
he's coming up eventually. We're going to be hitting probably 1940s next year, and then probably like 1950s, 60s, 50s through like 70s really.
Right.
The next year. But I think we're going to be hitting Hawkeye's first scenes in like maybe 2 years.
Cool. Oh, well,
So I'll let you know.
Sign me up in 2 years. I'm down.
It sounds like it's so far away, but when you realize we're going to be doing this podcast for a minimum of 15 years,
God.
2 years is soon.
It is soon by comparison. That's like Frankie and I joke that maybe if we take long enough with this season, then by the time we're done, we won't have to go to a different franchise because Mass Effect Next, whatever that is, will be out by then, which it won't because we're at least 5 years away from that. I'm pretty sure, if not 3 at least. So, well, who knows?
I mean, if Bethesda is the worst at that sort of thing, about being like, we're going to put out a new game, but they said that 10 years ago, and it's still like all we've seen is like one splash screen and some fucking trees. Like, you know, that's the worst level it could be. I'm sure Mass Effect will come out sooner than that. Well, knock on wood.
God willing.
We'll see how it goes. Okay, cool. And you also filled us in on all of your new projects, so...
Which is very exciting. Everyone should go check that out. We'll give you an opportunity at the end to more specifically plug where to find that stuff. But
sure,
absolutely. Why don't we summarize why we're here?
Yes, now that Ryder is officially acknowledged as the human Pathfinder, it's time to take the first step toward finding homes for the Initiative colonists. Ryder revisits the scene of the Initiative's failure on Eos and tries to figure out how to use alien technology to force the planet into something livable. There are new faces, puzzles, and lots of Ket along the way, but it all ends with a decision for the Initiative's future.
The American way.
The American way, right? Yeah, this
forcing a planet into livable situations.
Yeah, we've talked about colonization. This will now be the third time every episode. It's just I feel like
it's gonna come up.
It's required.
Although I will say, in their defense, like there's a difference. I feel like between being like, "Hi, we would just like to take your shit," versus our planet is dead. So like we need a home. Pretty please let this work out. You know?
Yeah.
Yeah. And also I feel like this is a planet that was not inhabited.
Absolutely.
Because it was unlivable.
Right.
So we're taking something that was dead and we're trying to make it better.
Right. Well,
it's like that meme that's like, doesn't work, but might be fun. That's kind of what it feels like.
Exactly. Someone left us this planet with a note posted to it. So at the end of the last episode, we were getting on the Tempest, our brand new Normandy-esque ship. I already got lost on it. I didn't realize there was a lower level. It took me like 3 round trips around the top deck to go, where the F is Liam? I know he's here. I saw him somewhere. And also, when you go to the bridge, it has that like invisible bridge in front of the bridge,
the glass bridge.
And I'm just like I walked up to it. I'm like, am I gonna fall? Where is the? Oh, I see. And then walked across it. I was like, come on, Matt, you're better than this. You play video games sometimes.
I love the Tempest.
It's
a gorgeous ship. It's sleek. It's obviously not a warship. It's not the Normandy.
No.
You know, this is a ship for exploration.
Yep.
This is a ship for teamwork.
Teamwork? What?
So much teamwork.
I do appreciate, though, Liam, shortly after we get to run around a bit, teaching us how to do research and development. Mm-hmm. Love how they work the R&D side of this, of Mass Effect, into this pretty early, and you can, like, build based on blueprints and research new blueprints and build stuff. It seems like it's going to be a good old resource sink, as video games want to have, where you just dump stuff into it and then it spits stuff out at you that you might want.
Yeah, Liam was the only person who wanted to talk to me. Everybody else was like, what are you doing? Go to the bridge.
It's busy.
We will talk later.
Yeah, go away. Go do the thing.
But we meet Callow, who is our Solarian pilot of the Tempest. I love Callow. He's such a sweet boy.
He's adorable. He's so eager, and like when you talk to him the first time, it gives me like more innocent Morden vibes, in the sense that he's talking really fast, he's really excited, he's proud of what they're doing. Like, it's Morden if Morden were kind and patient and innocent, which is none of those things.
A little more socially aware,
yes,
kind of thing as well.
Yeah.
Sometimes Morden opens your mouth and you're like, I want to like you so much. But then you said that. Okay, so you're fine. Morty, but just, watch it.
Callow was actually there when the Tempest was built.
Yeah, he talks about how how excited they were even when they were building it, and like now that he gets to put it through its paces, like it just seems kind of surreal to him. Like he's got this genuine like kid on Christmas giddiness, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, he's a nice boy. When you approach the bridge, I guess.
The bridge on the bridge, across the bridge.
The bridge on the bridge, the bridgiest bridge. Everybody kind of gathers behind you because this is a momentous occasion. Mm-hmm. And Cora, I love Cora, but she stands there and she goes, "It was optimized for a Pathfinder." She says things with such intention and like gravitas. I am like, I need you to calm down.
Take a minute. Give me some space.
I like you a lot, but please. My dad died 5 minutes ago. I can't with this right now.
Yeah, she's a little intense, but I do like her. But she is definitely a little intense.
What do you think of Suvi?
I think she's got an Irish accent and she's cute.
That is a Scottish accent, sir.
Is it really? I'm terrible.
Yes.
Look, can you tell that I'm not an actor and I don't know my accents? Scottish accent. But she's really sweet and very excited. And you get to have a conversation with her about her research and her background. And like, she talks about her, 1,000-page document on dirt. And Ryder's just like, "You wrote 1,000 pages on dirt?" And she's like, yeah, I know. That's not even enough. I could have done more.
You're going to meet a lot of nerds in Andromeda. I'm just going to warn you up front. That's not the first dissertation you're going to be offered.
I wonder if that's what the biggest qualm with this game was, that everyone was so used to people being like, "I'm ready to shoot stuff." And then in this game, people are like, "Have you heard about dirt? Because it's pretty neat." And everyone's like, "What is this game, man? I don't understand."
Yeah, I mean, we talked about that in the first episode, that this feels more like Star Trek than Star Wars, because the original trilogy felt more Star Wars-y, action, adventure, ambition. Right. This one feels more research, exploring, boldly going, as it were.
Right, but less making out with other aliens.
Yeah. Well,
which is a shame.
It is a shame.
Andromeda, come on, step it up.
So we find out that there is something fishy going on Eos, on Eos, and that there is an alien signal similar to that which was on Habitat 7. So we have even more reason to head down to the planet. Let's talk about space travel in Andromeda, right? Real quick.
Sure. I like the exploration is reminiscent of Mass Effect 3, like going to planets and scanning them. No fuel or scanners or probes to keep track of anymore, which hallelujah, stupid resources to manage. But, and I talked to Frankie about this offline a little bit, I hate the transition screens. When you go to a planet to research it, and you click on it, and then you do the thing, the camera zooms out and shows you traveling from planet to planet every time. And you can skip it, but like, it's why do we need that? It's a video game. Why?
I think that's interesting because that is one of my favorite parts of it, because I love, so in other games where I want to say it's Mass Effect 2, but I'm sure it's actually probably Mass Effect 3, but there's like scenes where you'll like be like, all right, I want to go to this place. Mm-hmm. And what they do is instead they show you a scene where it's just like, here's the ship, and it's like all this stuff coming off the back of it. They show you that for like 10 seconds as it's loading.
Yeah.
And then now here's the planet. But it doesn't show you like the universe. So I feel like it's cool that like we're seeing stuff not even just like outside of our normal. So like obviously in Mass Effect 1 through 3, you see the stuff that we technically quote unquote could see if we stayed nearby.
Yeah.
But like now we're literally like other galaxy, right? I'm trying to remember which one's which. Galaxy is what the Milky Way is?
Yes.
Or okay. Yeah. So we're in another galaxy. So it's like there's nothing that we've ever seen. So it's very cool that you get to kind of in a way take in the space sights, because it doesn't look the same as other games. Also, I don't know. I think it's very beautiful. like some of the stuff that you see. Some of it is like very short trips, so it's just like, okay, you see some stars and then a planet comes into view. But like sometimes it's like you see all these things out and about whizzing past, and you see like very beautiful planets just kind of come into frame. I love the visual style of planets in this game versus other games, because usually it's so just, I don't know, like a couple textures thrown onto something, but there's so much detail on these planets, and it's like I want to actually go, like I actually want to go to each of those planets now. You know?
Yeah, I totally get that. I think for me it's annoying because literally when I'm in a system, before I even go to the system where Eos is, and I want to scan each planet, it does that little cutscene between every single of the 5 planets in that one system. And I think at that point it's tedious. I mean,
it is.
That's fair. I feel like, you know, perhaps like maybe just turning it on for when you're going to planets where you're actually going to land.
Yes.
Versus when you're just, you know, wandering around to find resources and stuff like that. I could see that.
Or even only having it when you go to a new cluster for the first time.
Yeah.
I think that might even be beneficial, because then they can invest in a scene that kind of takes you around the cluster so you can see what's there. And then now that you've seen it, you can now focus in on what you're doing, which is scanning and building out your galaxy map. But my problem with it is that even though, Colin, I do agree that it's a nice opportunity to see all of the beautiful design and all of the animation and graphics that they've developed, it makes me nauseous.
Oh, no.
I can't watch it. It makes me sick to my stomach. And because I can't watch it and I can't enjoy it, I just have to skip it. And it's just time consuming to just have to skip it every time I want to go to a planet. So it's something that I wish they were a little more intentional with, instead of just slapping it on every single planet.
Yeah, I think like the option even to turn it off if you don't want it anymore. Like if you skip it enough times, it says, would you like to just turn off this option? Like that would be really helpful. Also, this game messed with me immediately, and none of you gave me any advice about this. So when I was scanning the first area, I was scanning it. I found everything, but the percentage wasn't 100%. And Suvi is still yelling at me, there's something to scan. And I'm like, I've scanned every planet. What are you talking about? What I didn't realize is that you can also scan the system, which is new, and find like asteroids and other things. It took me an embarrassing amount of time to figure that out on my own, because the game doesn't really tell you.
That's not super new. You could do that in Mass Effect 3.
Could you really scan the system, not just the individual planets?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you could. Technically, I think you have to like physically like fly over it in
like it
Mass
would have
Effect
the
3.
pinging, right? Okay,
Right, but
Yeah.
like if you flew past like through like asteroids and it was like bonk,
yeah,
you're like, oh,
yeah, all right.
I know that sound. That means something's there.
Well, then I'm just a fool.
Go back.
Either way.
You are a fool, but that's why I love you.
Little column A, little column B. You know.
Thanks.
Yeah, it'd be like that sometimes. But yeah, the traveling animation, it's hard. I wish that it was a little more intentional, so that way it could be enjoyable and not just, frustrating. And I think it is kind of a barrier for a lot of people to enjoy the game, because it does take up a lot of time.
It does. And I mean, this was also made in a time where games had to load. Like I imagine on my PS4, when I had one, it would be loading during that time. Whereas now on my PS5, I can probably skip it immediately, because most of that stuff is instantly loading or loading much faster. A la the elevators in the first game and, that kind of thing.
I almost wonder like if it was like remastered or whatever you want to call it, like put out for these like newer systems. I wonder if that animation would technically even still be there, because if it doesn't need to immediately load, it could just like shoot, just like almost like fade in, fade out. You're there.
Yeah.
Because it wouldn't need that moment to, like you said, load it. Because like sometimes, playing through like older games on like newer systems, things that you used to have to sit and wait for forever. Like I think of Knights of the Old Republic, where like on older computers and like on the original Xbox, like that little bar to load the next thing took it was like minutes.
Yeah.
of time. Whereas like if I do it on my computer now, it's like, oh god, like you don't even get to read the first 2 words of the tips and tricks that they put on the bottom because it's just loaded. So I really do wonder if it's like now they wouldn't even bother to throw that in because they're like, oh, it's nope, you're there. You just, it's like in D&D or whatever when someone's like, you just do that, you know, you click on the planet, yeah, you're there.
Yeah.
I do that.
I will say though, I do like the exploration. I'm really enjoying this. It's fun to scan the planets. It's nice to like see like you were saying, Colin, like each planet, like one of the planets I scanned had like little moving thunderstorms on the surface and stuff. Yeah. Like that kind of stuff is really cool. So I really dig that. But there isn't that much to scan. It's like, I think 3 systems that are available immediately and of course I scanned them all. And then we can go to Eros, and it's interesting. Eos, right.
Eros is something else entirely.
Eros is completely something else. Eos, which was what was cool about applying things that you expect to do based on previous games. I like that to land, you don't just click X. They want you to encourage you to still scan everything. And so you scan and then select the landing site and land, which I think is pretty cool. You know, it is, it does get annoying, however, if you forget to pick your squad and have to go back on your ship to then fly into space to then pick your squad and then land again and then have to scan again and then pick the landing zone again. But barring that, it's a neat setup.
That's why you have to find immediately the first, whatever those zones are called. I keep forgetting what those pods are. Forward station.
Yeah, that was going to be my advice for you, is the forward stations are a place where you can change your loadout.
Really? And I found like 3 of them, and I had thought about changing my loadout, and then I didn't even realize I'm an idiot.
Yeah, you just walk right up.
Yeah. Nice. They're a safe space, so you're not going to get poisoned by radiation.
Yes, that I realized.
You could just hop out, approach it, change your loadout, and be done.
But when we land, everything's quiet. We can't see, can't open some of the doors. We can't find anything. And I like how sarcastic Sam is already. Like, he's just... like, I forget what he says, but then at one point Ryder goes, you could just tell me that there's no power to open the doors. Sam pauses for a beat and then goes, there's no power to open the doors. I'm like, you son of a...
You can't open it without code.
Yeah, that one, yeah. And I was like, damn it, Sam. That's funny. I laughed.
Sam is great. His comedic timing is very similar to Edie's early comedic timing.
Yes, I would agree. Absolutely.
Oh. Who did you take with you?
So I took Vetra and Cora.
Nice. Girl squad. I also took Girl Squad.
Well, I mean, I wasn't a Girl Squad because I do not identify as a girl.
That's fair.
I just brought 2 badass ladies with me. Mostly because I'm still not fond of Liam. He's fine. He's fine. But I think until I get to know him better, I'm just like, you spent 10 minutes shooting a corpse in the last mission. So I don't think we need to hang out on this new world where we may meet new people.
Liam is very bro-y. Mm-hmm. And there are times where I'm like, sure, I could hang with that. And there are times where I'm like, you know what? Go enjoy your couch. I'm gonna go on this one with someone else. But thank you. I appreciate it.
John and I keep saying that Liam's a brat.
I can see that. Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
That's what it comes down to. He's a brat. Yeah, I took Cora and Vetra as well. Kind of for a meta reason.
Okay.
But also just because I love Vetra and I just didn't want to hang out with Liam.
I mean, they do have really good banter in the thing that we have not talked about yet. So while we're exploring Site 1, we find out that there is no power and we need to get codes. And so we set off to do a scan and search.
I did want to point out, did you notice on your loadout that you could have literally whatever you wanted as far as guns?
Yes. You're limited to slots, but not gun type. And so I'm carrying a SMG and a pistol, which in this game are both considered pistols. SMGs no longer have a separate category.
I have 2 pistols because that's all I use.
2 different pistols, I assume.
Yes.
Okay. Instead of 2 of the same pistol, that would be silly.
I mean, what if I run out of ammo in one? Now I have another one.
That's a good,
Makes sense to me.
that's a good point.
I roll very differently like every playthrough. I've done 2.5 playthroughs of Andromeda, but I think that I always have some sort of sniper rifle on me because I very frequently am just like, I don't want to get hit, so I'll just get as far away as I can and just try and pop people from far away.
Yeah.
Which is interesting because like in other games, I love to just go like run and gun like immediately. So at the time of recording this, I don't know exactly when the episode airs, but the one of the newest games that just came out, just in general, is a game called Back for Blood.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I play that like with like a shotgun build.
Same.
So like I'm always like in the front of the party running up and like like I mean I'm really getting in the faces of these things. But in Mass Effect I'm like, no, you stay over there. Pop out, pop out. You know, I'm popping them from afar.
Well, you haven't been able to hear the premiere because we're recording this a little inside baseball. We're recording this before the premiere date. But I talked about that exact thing, that's the style I play also, Colin. But in this game, especially on that first mission, I felt hampered by the scrapper, like just charging in and stabbing. Like I would die a lot. And so when we were on the station, I switched to a adept. And I will say that the combat this time around, so much more fun. I have a ton of abilities, and like I just stayed hidden. There's an ability I unlocked called Lance, where you essentially just throw a biotic lance. It does damage and sends them flying. Like, yeah, it's good stuff. We'll talk more about the combat as we get to it, but like, I mean, we're at that point now. So as we're exploring and turning on generators and bringing this station back to life, the cat don't like that and just decide to come shoot us.
Well, it's not so much that the cat don't like it, it's that they see that as an invitation.
Yeah, to come play.
Right.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I stopped using Biotic Charge. I took it off my bar, and right now I'm using Biotic Lance, Throw, and Shockwave. And I feel more useful now because I don't know, there's something about the early Mass Effect games where, and this could have been because I was also playing on normal and now I'm playing on story mode, but like I just never felt like even in the early days with the shotgun for the Vanguard, I felt like I could survive. I just felt much weaker in this game. And so I think being at a distance and using biotic abilities and just using my two different kinds of pistols, like my co-host apparently, is much better and a lot more fun. I ended up kind of vibing with the combat a lot more. I still hate that because you have a dash button, you don't have a sprint and cover button anymore.
You do have sprint.
Well, so you do have sprint. You can run by pushing in the thumbstick, but like getting behind cover just feels like you just automatically do it now, and it throws me off every time because then I try and dash past it.
Right, and then you're like, no, don't hit that wall.
No.
Especially if you're trying to run away from something. Like, no, what are you doing? It's like, God, don't do that. I actually had forgotten about that aspect until you mentioned it, though, is specifically the idea, though, that you can change not just like any kind of weaponry that you want at any time, but your whole layout.
Yeah.
So like, it was tough because, you know, playing through certain things of older Mass Effects games where you're like, I think I'm going to do biotic stuff this time. But then sometimes you get there and you go, I actually kind of wish I'd done some more tech-based stuff because I really never have done, you know, but then it's too late at that point. But like the fact that you can just sort of pick and choose, use your points as you go through, I like that so much because it's just, it's almost like every single time you play or like every planet you go to, you can completely tailor your experience to whatever you're either feeling that day or on that planet. And like, it kind of gives you some extra advantages, I feel like, because some places might be too tight corners for certain things or whatever. But I don't know. I think it's a big part of what made that game feel so good versus older games.
Yeah, I mean, that versatility is great.
Yeah, I feel like a huge hallmark of Andromeda is flexibility and versatility, because not only do you have opportunities to change out your loadout at any forward station so you can do something different for different parts of a planet, you also have opportunities to change your combat profiles. You can explore all different kinds of combat combinations. You don't have to be limited to what the game says, well, if you chose Vanguard, these are what you get as Vanguard, and that's the end of it. You chose Vanguard, maybe you want to be more techie and have a drone that helps you. Like, you can have that as an option. That is a thing. And there's just, it feels like there are no limitations, but not in a way where it's choice paralysis, in a way where you can really tailor this experience to what you like and your preferences.
Yeah, and I like that a lot. I think it makes the combat now feel more comfortable for me and how I want to play in this moment.
So I know you already mentioned your advice for survival in a new galaxy. I know that technically it's supposed to be later, but since we're talking about combat, I did realize what my advice is. I'm not sure if you've, like, how many different moves you've unlocked, but something to also check out is that some of the different moves, if you do them in specific orders, become combo moves, and those do huge damage.
Okay, cool.
Like, I believe one of them is that if you do like incinerate and then drain, I think, I'm pretty sure it's those two in a row. So you set them on fire, but then when you drain, essentially it makes it explode a second time and spread. So like it does like extra damage. So like that sort of thing is what gets you through some fights so much quicker, because you can combo things, and sometimes not even just individuals. Sometimes it's also for group things, because I think when it explodes a second time, I think the incinerate spreads. Okay. I could be wrong on that. It's been a minute, but I know some of them affect greater areas with those combo moves. So like that's my advice for survival in a new galaxy.
Well, thank you. Yeah, I mean, that makes sense, since in Mass Effect 3 they added a bunch of that. I remember when I played as an engineer not that long ago, like cryo and incinerate at the same time would make folks blow up. But yeah, the combats here are fine. I mean, it's just waves of enemies every time you turn on a generator. Nothing fancy.
Yeah. When we finally do get everything set up and get rid of all the kit, we meet Clancy Arquiste, who is a salvager who snuck off of the Nexus to try and steal some stuff from Site 1 for a character named Crazy Blue. Gee, I wonder who that is. But Clancy also lets us know that if we're going to be exploring Eos, we need some wheels.
Yep, and so we get, in this time, also taught how to put down this game's beacon or waypoint or safe station, as it were, as we talked about before. Mm-hmm. And once we do that and get that tutorial that I ignored and didn't learn how to change anything out, we then can pull out of its crate the Nomad, which is this game's vehicle of choice.
Great name.
Don't like this car. It's better than the Mako, but I think it's more that I'm just a bad driver in video games is probably the real problem at this point. It's a cool vehicle. It's exploratory. It doesn't really have any weapons, but you can like mine with it, and it has all range mode essentially, where you can like climb hills and has boosts and blah, blah, blah. I don't know. I don't love driving it. I'd rather be running around on foot personally. But then again, in Dragon Age Inquisition, I never rode a horse. I always ran everywhere. So I guess maybe I just don't like vehicles.
I love the Nomad. I think it's great.
The Nomad is great specifically because the maps are so huge compared to other places. So it's like getting to point A to point B there. Yeah. I agree. There are times where I'm like, I'd love to go on foot and just kind of explore and not just like breeze past everything. But then I'll look at how much time has passed since I left a point and go, never mind. I need this damn car. It's like, it's going to take me 10 minutes to run halfway across this map. And I do like the fact that like you've got the different settings, because it feels, I don't know, like I don't drive like stick. So like I don't know, jack all about gears and stuff, but it does make me feel like a little bit of what, society has always told me that like as a man I should be like, is like, drive a truck that does this, like all this other. There are times where I'm like, I'm going fast, but then I'm going to go up a hill. So I'm like, let me shift to this, let me shift to that. And then bam, look at me, I'm going up this hill. And I feel like cool and like tough for a second. And then I'm like, hi, everybody, I'd like to make friends. And like, that's a different part of my personality. But I like the driving on this car a lot, and the jumpability. I don't know how else to word that. The Mako was both fun but frustrating. And the Nomad, I just feel like handles so smoothly.
Right.
And I enjoy it very much.
I mean, I think also my biggest problem is this area that we're about to leave is really rocky and hard to get around. And I think that's part of my frustration is it's kind of windy. It does control fine, and I think I'm just being cranky. It is definitely better than both the Firewalker and the Mako, because everything's better than the Mako. So, you know, but I agree. Like, if I had to run from point A to point B on this planet, I would just die of radiation poisoning, first of all. But, you know, but we do find out from Sam and also the Salvager that there is a tower in the distance that they had been exploring.
Before we leave Site 1 and go to that tower, I want to address something weird that Sam can do, where he can apparently reconstruct moments from the past in initiative environments. Like, that's wild.
It's very like Jarvis like from like Iron Man, and like the ability to like I don't know, it is very weird. I feel like it would make sense if you're like, okay, based on heat signatures or whatever and all these things, I can reconstruct like people's movements. But like when it's like, but I also know exactly what they said in this moment. That's when I'm like, how though? Sam, where were you when this happened? I'm a little concerned about how, I don't know. I guess also at the same time, I don't read rather any of the terms and conditions on stuff. So I'm sure that as much as I'm like, my phone only listens during these times. No, I'm sure my phone, like Mr. or Miss or, Mix FBI agent who's listening to me right now. I hope you're enjoying this podcast and like just my one side of it. But like, that's kind of what I think is going to happen is someday, like if I were to get, oh God, hang on. Knock on wood. If someone were to just bust open my door right now and then shoot me, well, I guess it's also on a podcast. Damn it. Okay, that's not, my point's not being proven perfectly, but like if the FBI agent was like, okay, well, technically I could tell you exactly what happened because I have this recording because he just hit accept anyway. I feel like that's a little bit of what's happening, but also Sam is everywhere and it's a little uncomfortable.
Everywhere. He's everywhere throughout well, it's not that he's everywhere, it's that he has access to everything.
That's what it is. Yeah.
That's really what it is. Because Sam wasn't here, but there's initiative technology here. So he's able to draw on all of that technology and like recordings that maybe were made, in order to build these moments from the past. And I just think it's wild.
It is wild. It's crazy.
It feels like an invasion of privacy.
It is an invasion of privacy.
But it's also frustrating in a way because I love when games give me like audio logs and lore building stuff like Fallout or BioShock. When you find anything that's like, here's something about how the past worked, it's very fun, but also it's so weird that Sam is just like, hi, listen to this conversation about this guy finding out, I don't know, that someone cheated on him. I'm like, Sam, I don't know if I should be listening to this. Like, no, it's fine. It's great. It's great. It's a great listen. Just check it out.
Ryder, I've essentially found someone's personal diary. Would you like to hear an entry from it?
That's exactly it. Yeah.
Exactly.
Oh, God. So, yeah, that's something that Sam does anyway.
So we get in the Nomad and we drive off to the first monolith to find out if we can utilize this alien technology in the same way that our father did before he died. And when we arrive at the first monolith, we are greeted by someone in a very unique way. So we're going to try and activate the tower, and before we're about to push the big red button, we get straddled and knocked over by an Asari out of nowhere.
This is Pelisaria Bisale, or PB.
Although at this time, we don't know that. We only know her as PB. I like that there's no renegade triggers in this, but there are R2 what the hell is going on triggers. And I didn't take it, but there's one while she's mounting you.
Oh, I took it. It's time to get off, sweetie. Excuse me.
I feel like in that situation, if I were just planted to the ground by confusing and attractive Asari, I would just kind of lay there and go, I don't want to die. I don't know what's happening. I'm just going to lay here and let this happen.
I'm just so lonely. I can't hit the what the hell, but I'm like, it's fine. Listen, this is
okay.
That's fine. This is okay right now. If I die, I die.
after spending only a few minutes with PB, she is already my favorite character, and I adore her. She's very different from every Asari we've ever met before. She's very gung-ho. She's very spirit of adventure and sarcastic, and kind of like a lot of the Asari we've met in both the previous trilogy and this trilogy are pretty reserved, except for Lexi. Lexi has a good sense of humor as well, but like it's clear that she is unlike others. Although when she did say, I've been investigating all of this stuff, I'm like, ugh, another archaeologist. Why? Why are all Asari obsessed with archaeology?
So the thing that I love about Petey is her class. I don't know if you noticed when you were selecting your party from Vetra and Korra, but they have like class names, kind of. Vetra is a drifter mercenary, and Petey is a rogue academic.
That's great.
And I'm just
great.
like,
that is really
that's
great.
me. I'm a rogue academic.
She's also very punk rock, but she has like that, like the black line makeup that's like very much like, I'm ready to listen to Green Day, Mom. Okay.
Or I'm going to save this city, or you have failed.
That's
this
true.
city.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah,
it is like one hood away from you have failed this galaxy.
But we find out that these monoliths are also are inhabited by robots that she refers to as the remnant, because they are remnants of whatever came before, and they don't like kindly when you mess with their stuff, and they tend to leave you alone until they see you touching stuff, and then they want to kill you.
Yeah, that be the way it is. Remnant robots are pretty easy to fight. They're not that stressful, but they do kind of swarm you. Like, there's just a lot of them. What they lack in originality, they make up for in numbers.
They do. And I died a few times because I would just be fighting what's ahead of me, and then they would swing around the back.
They would come around behind you, yeah.
Yeah.
They're sneaksy.
But we find out when activating this monolith that apparently it's connected to other monoliths. And so now PB is like, shoo, you go find out what those do. Go be useful. And you go to explore two other monoliths, which are more or less more of the same. Especially the second one is kind of, you're just looking around and activating and pressing buttons, but you also have to do some puzzle solving at these locations as well.
I love the puzzles because they're Sudoku, and I love Sudoku.
I hate the puzzles because they're Sudoku, and I hate Sudoku.
You and John are in the same boat.
I enjoy it. I'm not super great at it, but it is fun.
Oh, something I forgot to mention, something that made me very excited is, so I have some kind of scavenger armor. I forget what the set is called, but it's not the standard armor. Right. And so I no longer have a jump jet. So instead, because I'm a biotic, I use my biotics to jump. And that's really cool. Like, that makes me feel like a biotic. Like, we saw so many biotic warriors in Mass Effect, especially 2 and 3, like, jumping around. Like, every time Samara did
fall.
Right, like every time Samara did anything, she was covered in biotics and jumping around. And so it's cool to see that we can do that now, especially me as an adept, and like be able to jump around that way.
I think you don't have a jump jet anymore because you're an adept.
I think that's the, yeah.
Yeah. And so that's really cool that I can use my biotics to jump as an adept. Also, I bring that up because at the second monolith, we have to do some platforming to get to the top of some of the spires to find the key symbols to then figure out the stupid Sudoku puzzle. And the platforming's not bad in this. Like, yeah. I think it's definitely, like, they learned a lot from, and we're going to, again, continue to bring up this game because exploration-wise, it's very similar. But, like, they took the jumping from Inquisition, which was okay, but not great, and they made it more like, okay, now you can platform. Now the jumping is designed so you can actually do platforming and 3D puzzle platforming. And it's not the best that any game like this has done, but it's far from the worst. Like, I enjoy it. I don't mind jumping around, especially considering once we get to the vault later, we're going to be doing a lot more of that. Mm-hmm. But for like exploring and finding the puzzles and stuff, it's pretty fun here.
The environment is also more easily, like, what's the word for it? Not manufactured.
Accessible.
Thank you. Yeah, I don't know why I couldn't think of that word. Because I feel the same thing, right? Is in things like Dragon Age Inquisition. It's like there's stuff where I felt like I should be able to climb this. It's not that big. And my person's just like, nope, sorry.
Yeah, but and sometimes in Inquisition there were like things that you had to get.
Mm-hmm.
but you just couldn't get to them because you had to jump in exactly the right way.
Right.
Whereas
It was
here,
finicky.
yeah. Whereas here, the platforms are like much wider. They're better designed for their intention.
And some slopes aren't like an immediate, oh, you're going to just fall off of it. Like some of it, you land on stuff where you're like, okay, sure. No, with science, I'm sure I could land on that. I feel like they're just a little bit more forgiving in some regards. And I feel like that's the key to keeping that smooth.
Yeah, for sure. But once we solve the puzzle here, we're given more information, and then it's off to the next monolith to do more of that.
The next monolith is so great because you meet one of my favorite characters.
Yes, we do. I feel like no Mass Effect game is complete without a Krogan to join you on your
and
adventures.
this is the most Krogan entrance of any Krogan we've ever met. Once you get inside this bunker, he throws a dead animal at you, and he talks to you while he's carving a tooth out of this animal.
We are, of course, talking about Drac. My exact notes are, Drac is a cool guy. Because when one of the emotional response you get to give is you can either say, like, who are you? Or, that was a pretty cool entrance. And, of course, I chose, that was a pretty cool entrance. And he goes,
I guess it was.
I guess it was. Like, this is so good. I'm immediately endeared to this asshole. And, of course, Vetra knows him. He chats with you a bit and talks about how, he hates the Ket, and he's been fighting them ever since shit went wrong on the Nexus, and has kind of just been going planet to planet, taking out Ket and stacking bodies. And then he kind of, you offer that he could help, and he goes, nah, I'm good, and just kind of wanders off. And I was sad. I was like, oh, is he only going to be an NPC? Bummer. I like that guy.
But everything you just said is so Krogan as well. To be like, I'm just going to go planet to planet and fuck their shit up. Yeah. And like, I don't care if I die. Hey, what a way to go out. But like, I'm going to do some damage. And it's like, hell yeah.
I'm like 1 billion years old. Who cares at this point?
That's so true. He's definitely the oldest Krogan we've ever come across in these things. And I love that, like, he's still very much like ready for fighting, but he's such a curmudgeon at times too, which I think is so great. He's like kind of grandpa hanging out with you. It's cool.
Well, yeah, when you offer him to join you, he says, I'm too old to be lifting up humans around me. I ain't got time for that.
I'm too old for this shit kind of thing.
Also, one of his reasons for not wanting to join you is that you represent the Nexus, and the Nexus did his people dirty. Like, the Nexus fucked over the Krogans, just like the Milky Way Council races fucked over the Krogans. Mm-hmm. He's like, I'm not really here for it. I am just gonna go kill some Ket, because I know how to do that. Nobody's gonna get in my way, and nobody's gonna, like, try and stop me from killing Ket, except for maybe the Ket, and who cares what they think. I understand where he's coming from. If I had been marginalized and, like, abused by the people who were supposed to, like, unite with me, I wouldn't want anything to do with them either.
Yeah, that's legit.
That must suck to be like, I'm going to go to a new galaxy for new, like, everything will be much better. Like, we're going to just basically wipe the slate clean. And then the second you get there, everyone's like, hey, remember that shit you left that place to get rid of? Well, here it is again. You're like, God damn it. Like, you're like, all right, well, guess it's back to just same old, same old.
Yeah, and the whole point of Andromeda is for it to be something new. It's for people to try new and different things. But the Krogan aren't ever given that chance. They're treated as this mercenary force, and then when they want their equal say, they're laughed at because, haha, Krogans don't do politics.
Yeah.
I love Drac. Drac represents so much about the Krogan people and their plight in Andromeda.
But yeah, so Drac heads off, and you now get word from PB that apparently pressing all the buttons made the pointy lasers that coming out of them converge on a specific location, a vault, if it were. And yells at you to come meet her there. Let's go investigate.
Vault time, baby.
Yeah, it's pretty cool when you get there and you turn on the bridge and it does the space age thing of, like, forming as you drive over it. That was just a fun effect that is completely unnecessary, but I appreciate
so much anxiety.
Am I gonna die? Am I gonna fall off?
In real life, I'd be like, why is the bridge not going? I am not walking across this until I see a full bridge.
Yeah.
But also, what do you do if you get like halfway across and then it just goes, actually, that's as far as we got? And you're like,
What
well,
do you do?
that I can't make that gap. Why'd you even give me this much? Yeah. Or if it's a trap, you get halfway across, and like, haha, psych. Oop,
And then it falls apart. Like,
Yeah.
give me a full bridge. I hate this.
We get to the vault and we walk into this empty room, and PB starts to have an anxiety attack. She's like, can't be all this secrecy for an empty room. What the hell? And then she's like, why don't you do your Pathfinder thingy? And then the floor opens and you have the opportunity to go, that wasn't me. Or, yeah, I just make this look easy. And of course, I went with the latter.
Me too.
Every time.
That make it look so easy.
And then you kick a rock in, and it shows the rock like kind of get caught and then float slowly down. And as you're thinking about what you want to do, PB just jumps in. And you
I
have the
jumped in
opportunity-
first.
Interesting. I was
Yeah.
going to ask that question. Did you let PB drop in first, or were you like, well, I'll let you know when I get there and just...
By the time I realized that I could do that, I missed the trigger. I didn't know there were going to be quick time events. You didn't give me that heads up.
There were quick time events in the last game. I didn't feel like I needed to warn you.
Anyway, so yeah, PB jumped in first for me, and then I was like, well, I guess I'll see you down there, and jumped in. And like, Vetra jumps in, and then Cora like lingers for a sec, and I can just feel her going,
Yeah.
and like then jumping in, like, oh, here we go.
I also feel like the line of like, I make this look easy, probably also is very much like her being like, I'm trying to give you the benefit of the doubt. That doesn't help. Probably drives her nuts, but also she's like, but okay, you get results, but
Yeah.
it's supposed to be me.
I feel so bad for Cora all the time.
Same. Cora's great. And I get the frustration. There's nothing worse than seeing someone live the life that you were meant to have, the same way that I had to watch Foosley, great streamer, become sponsored by Dr. Pepper and get a gaming chair with a built-in mini fridge for Dr. Pepper. That was hard. That was hard for me, you know? So I get where Cora's coming from, to be like, I'm supposed to be like the next, you know, savior of humanity. And now if you're playing as a man, you're like, now this man gets to do it, which I
Yeah.
get how that could be even more frustrating.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, I get it. They're the same thing, you know, same issue.
One of the things that I mentioned in a previous episode that still continues on is that they do a really good job of not pitting Sarah Ryder and Cora against each other. They could really easily have leaned into this, like, women tearing each other down idea, but they don't do that. Cora very much is supportive and says to you, like, you're doing a good job, you're doing what you're supposed to do, I'm here to support you, I'm your second. And
Yeah.
you know, she takes it a little too seriously sometimes, but when it's the thing that she trained for, I get it.
Yeah, totally. But yeah, so we're slowly floating down a large elevator shaft on weird purple energy until we hit the bottom. And then when we get to the bottom, PB pretty much goes, all right, peace out, I'm going to go explore, see you later.
Don't split
Let
the party.
PB's like, I'll see you later. We need to get through this one door, and I don't know how, so you go figure it out. I'm going to go explore. Bye. And, like, I chose to say it was a good idea. We'll cover more ground that way. But, like, she's just, what I love about PB is she's so the opposite of Liara when we first found Liara, right? Like, she is absolutely her own person. She is gung-ho. She's, like, following the call to adventure. She is not stopping to think, and I can relate to that. Going head first without thinking first.
I was against splitting the party, but fuck me, I guess, right?
There's a great line from PB too. So like she gives you, she's like, I'm on this frequency, because it's like, well, we need to remain in contact. So she's like, I'm on this frequency, and like maybe 30 seconds later, she mentions, like, she hops on the comms and she's like, hey, it's okay. Well, yeah, you know, it's me. So it's like, I don't know why that's so funny to me, but the line that she has that's specifically like, I don't know why I'm telling you who it is. Like, obviously, who else would it be? It's just very, very funny. It makes me think of when I call someone on the phone and they have my number saved. Like, I'll call my mom, for example, be like, hey, it's Colin. It's like, why do I say that? Like, obviously she knows it's me. You know, my name pops up on the whole thing, but it's like, so, like, I get that. It's very interesting. It's very funny.
I think what makes it funny is it's so natural and it's so relatable, like you said. Like,
Yeah.
we all do that.
Yeah, totally. And so we're off to explore the vault. There's a few different puzzles, scanning, some combat with more of the remnant. I don't mind fighting the remnant. I like you said, they can swarm a bit, but like the combat, it has a punch to it that I enjoy. And like now that I'm just leaning into the adept and just being the full biotic I was meant to be, the combat feels more fun. And like the exploration here is really cool. Everything is beautiful. The construction of the vault in this space is gorgeous.
No matter how many times I play this game, I'm completely struck by how massive this vault is.
That first scene where you come around the corner and I took a screenshot of it. I'll try and remember to post it when this episode comes out. But like you just see these triangle shapes to infinity, like out in the distance. It just looks like corridors and hallways forever. And I'm just like, this is ridiculous. Like it reminds me of the kinds of things we see in like Marvel films where they're like these massive spaces. Like when we're on Asgard or something. And it's just, it's really well made and looks really cool.
There's some really cool dialogue around that as well, where they're like, it's interesting to also think about, because they're like, this must have taken years to like dig out and, you know, build all this stuff, but also like it's a whole other civilization. And we're, again, just looking at the remnants of things. Like, honestly, it could have taken them days. Like, we have no idea what their technology is like. And so whether it's days or even if it is years, it's like the manpower, for lack of a better term, or the technology or whatever to make something like that happen is like astounding. Because just like small spoiler, but it's like just like every vault, the distance that all of them go that you'll never see, it's endless. And it's like there's so much that could be explored, and it's wild to think that like there's so much that you will never even comprehend being out there. Kind of actually, I guess, like the galaxy. It's like there's so much beyond what we could expect.
The exploring here is really cool, and I actually so there are side rooms, you can find containers and stuff. And did you go into one of the hallways where there's a ton of inactive remnant?
At the charging station.
So my favorite part about going into this so when you're going through the vault, for those who may not have played it in a while or haven't played it at all, and if you haven't, I don't know why you're here, but thank you for being here. There's an offshoot where you can just like explore small rooms, big rooms. You know, this game really does lean on the exploration. And there's one room you go into where the walls are just lined with inactive remnant. And as soon as you walk in, Vetra's just like, I hate this. I hate it. I hate it. I hate it. I hate it. It's just the best. Like, because up until this point, she's so stoic. She's clearly meant to be the femme Garrus in a way a little bit. And in this moment, she's just like dorky in a way that I appreciate, that our previous favorite Turian was. And it's just like, I just lost it. I started laughing my ass off.
She's so good. I love her so much. Actually, surprisingly, I found an area that I'd never been to before.
Really? Oh, cool.
Yeah, I played this game 5 times.
Oh, wow.
Whoa.
And I still found something that I've never explored before. It was a little kind of pocket in one of the chambers where there was a puzzle to solve and glyphs to find, so you can get like little bonuses out of one of the chests.
Oh, cool. I don't think I saw that. I must have walked right past it.
Like, you have to really dig deep into every single corner and backtrack and find all of the consoles. It's hard. Like, I definitely missed something on my way out because I always do.
Yeah, totally. But what I love is as we're exploring, like we get to this large center section where there's plants growing under the ground, and like Sam doesn't even know what they are. And this is a section we get to do some platforming and puzzle solving while also fighting more of the remnant. And like you summon these platforms, these pillars that just come out of the ground. And it's really fun to platform here. You know, Ryder has a ledge grab, and like the jumping is pretty precise. And I really actually quite enjoy this here, like being able to kind of jump around and explore this whole area.
Yeah, the jumping is pretty good. Sometimes I overshoot, and sometimes I'm just like, I don't know if I'm gonna make it.
There's a lot of wiggling in the air for me sometimes, because the jump can be very powerful, but then sometimes I'm like sprinting and jumping and going, please let me get close to that wall. But I do appreciate the wall grab, because the amount of times in other games where I would have essentially just like smacked my forehead on the ledge and then fallen to my death is insane to me, knowing that in this game I'm like, oh, okay, this person has the know-all to go, I'm going to put my hands out and
grab the thing.
Grasp something in front of me instead of just going dunk and then,
I will say that this particular vault is longer and more complicated than any vault you're going to experience down the line, because this is really the first one that you're exploring, so they really like pulled out all the stops for it. Like, you find plants deep down that are experiments, and you find all these little puzzles, and there's just so much to see and so much to look at. And you have PB, who is exploring a different part and like checking in with you every once in a while, and sometimes you see her running across a different space from you.
Yep.
And it makes it feel so big. But by the time you finally get through the entire vault, you find what you need in order to get it back online so you can initiate that atmosphere scrub.
And when you do that, shit goes badly.
What are you talking about? It's fine.
You press the button, and then this awful cloud of badness starts flying at you, and you're like, oh, I wonder what that is. And then it flies over the plants, instantly killing them. And you're like, well, shit, we better get out of here and take off down the hallway.
It's very Indiana Jones, and I love that part of it. It's also cool because I don't know if every vault does it, but I know at least this one does. But I think in most of them, there's at least one room that is like locked until you turn this thing on. So it's like, not only are you trying to race against the clock to get back to the main room, but you're like, I've got to be even faster here so I have enough time to go down this one hallway, open a box, which you have to wait for that thing to fill up, grab the stuff, run back out, and then keep going. The amount of times where I've kind of got like my heels singed a little bit, like maybe lost a couple eyebrow hairs, like as I'm like, hoo, ha, hoo, hey, yeah, getting hot foot as I'm like trying to get out, but also get every last crate open, or container, I guess is what they call them, and get out in time against the like biological rolling rock, I guess.
I always miss the EOS vault like secret thing that you have to grab during the run. I always miss it because Vetra says you want that thing, go grab it right before you touch the door. And I'm like, I have already pressed the button for the door.
That's exactly what happened, yeah. And as we're running, PB catches up with us and almost gets killed, and then you...
Unalived.
Yeah, unalived. You double back to make sure everyone gets out ahead of you, and then as you can't get out and you're trapped, you notice there's a console, so you go and you do your magic touch, and everything stops. And the door opens. And the day is saved.
I like when Ryder's like, I need some fresh air.
Yeah, like, can we go back up?
Fresh radioactive air.
But when you
feel the burn,
when you get outside, you already notice that the environment has gotten better, has improved, has become more livable, and you have a whole conversation about how is this possible? Like, even for alien technology, this is fast. It usually takes some semblance of time. And then PB is like, yeah, I don't understand it. And Sam chimes in to go, and we found this lit up another planet somewhere else in the Andromeda Galaxy that we should go explore because it's similar to this one. And PB's like, great, when are we leaving? When are we going? I'm ready. And you're like, we? What you mean we, Willis? And then she asks to join you, and you can be welcoming or not welcoming. And of course I was eager and welcoming to have her along. And then she's like, great, I'll see you later. And then darts onto a shuttle and flies away. It's like, all right, bye. I'll see you later.
PB is down to clown.
And then you are ready to call in the troops, as it were, to start settling Eos. It's a livable place. So you have to go to the prime landing spot to set up the new colony, I guess. Yeah. Mm-hmm. To start researching. And when you get to that location, there's a bit of a hubbub as you see a familiar face smashing other faces.
Yep, Drac is fighting with the cat, and you get the opportunity to join in. And he's loving this fight. He's like, this is great. This is a fucking awesome fight. Everything about this makes me incredibly happy.
Yeah, every time you hit an enemy with like a power, he goes, great shot, or good job. Like, he's just like, he's supportive dad.
Yeah.
He's having so much fun, which I think is like key, because I love the fact that, you know, both Rex and Grunt were very much like, I am a warrior, but like they were serious about it. Whereas like he was like, hell yeah, throw another nade their way kind of thing. And it's like, he's there to party and have a good time. He's like here for a good time, not a long time kind of situation, even though he is very old. And he's just like, let's do this thing. So he's got such a great little attitude for a, you know, old grizzled Krogan.
Yeah. I love him. I think he's wonderful. And when you finally finish the fight, you have the opportunity to be like, skies are clear, Ket keeled over. What do you think?
How about you join us? And Drac agrees to join you. He likes your style. He's excited to see what you can do. He's not still so on board with the Nexus stuff, but is willing to take the ride.
Yeah. And he even says, like, and before you say you don't need a Krogan, you do. Boy, I was not going to say that I didn't need a Krogan. I absolutely agree with you. Like, do you see what we just fought?
I've had a Krogan on every adventure.
Like, I need a Krogan. Come on, bud.
Yep.
Get on
my
I was about to say in Mass Effect 3 we didn't have a Krogan, but then I remembered, yes, we did. We had the human Krogan equivalent, James Vega.
We had James, the honorary Krogan.
Who's practically a Krogan.
Same thing.
Did you not get... Wait.
You don't get a Krogan companion in the third game until you do Citadel with Rex.
Right. Okay. Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I was like, wait, I was so sure Rex was in that game. You scared me for a moment because I was like, wow, am I insanely wrong about how that game went?
No.
No.
We're just talking about squad mates.
Sure. Yeah.
But after Drac decides to join us, then we can radio in the troops, as it were, as I said earlier, and they can land and join us.
So here's the question.
Yeah, I'm very curious about this.
You were given the choice to call down colonists to build a military outpost or a science outpost. What did you choose, Matt Storm?
So when you're doing this, just for, to go through all of the steps, I'm curious. Oh, so it would have been the same for you, actually. So when you're calling them down, Vetra lets you know that not only is this important decision to make now, but this will kind of send ripples for the decisions for the future. Like, this sets the expectation for you as a Pathfinder, and then you can ask your crew what they think. And of course, Vetra says science, Cora says military. And so, which I'm sure even if you brought any combination, it would probably still do that, because they probably want you to have to make the decision yourself. And so it's like, well, thanks for nothing. Thanks for not helping. I guess I'll figure it out myself. So I chose a science outpost.
I did as well.
My reasoning for choosing a science outpost is because of what we've talked about a few times already. This game feels more like Star Trek than Star Wars. It feels more like about discovering new worlds, meeting new people, and finding a way to live than conquering. And so to me, science seems more important at this juncture. That could change, but it just, like, in the spirit of treating this game like a Star Trek experience as far as how I identify my sci-fi, the science outpost seemed more important to me.
So you've done multiple runs, though.
Mm-hmm.
Have you always done science first, or have you ever tried military first?
Have tried military first. I don't prefer to. I prefer science first because for a lot of the same reasons that Matt shared. We're here to explore. We're here to build a better life. It doesn't feel appropriate to build a military outpost and to kind of set up hostility, especially since we don't know what else is out there. Like, yes, we've met the Ket and we do want to defend ourselves against them, but we don't know if the Ket are the only species here. Like, what if there are other species? Are they going to see us as similar to the Ket if we do this? So that's why I always choose science, but I have chosen military in the past. And I don't want to spoil things for Matt for what that experience is like, but because we only have this one game, I don't experience the ripple effect.
Yeah, that was what's interesting is that I felt like because we don't have a second one yet, we'll come back to that, because there's only one game currently, pause for letting them know. They like the only ripple I felt was the idea of like, no matter which one you pick, someone is like, hey, cool that you did that, but also like, here's the reason why that's shitty. And like, they kind of give you a bad time about why you picked that thing. But then like, they never do that same like type of thing. Mm-hmm. The further you add on to either science or military, which I think is very interesting. And I do think that when they give us an Andromeda 2, there we go, starting it now. When they give us an Andromeda 2, I do think that like that sort of effect will probably come into play, because I'm assuming now that certain elements will no longer be a threat, there's going to be new threats and new things. And like, that'll very much be like kind of like a newer version of First Contact that we are talking about in like the original Mass Effects, but never see. And I feel like that'll be that same sort of thing where like eventually they'll go, hey, so you stepped into our place first and you started a military. Interesting. Okay. Not sure how I feel about that. Otherwise, if it's science, like, oh, okay, so maybe you're not garbage people, you know, and you're like, who knows?
What I liked about this decision is that, honestly, there is no right answer. There's no wrong answer. There's just the answer that you choose and the consequences that come from it. Because there are consequences no matter what you choose. Because there are consequences to every choice. And sometimes you're deciding what consequences you can live with when you are making a choice. And it felt more realistic because, you know, there aren't necessarily good choices and bad choices, just the choices that we make.
And so once you make that choice, then they show a quick cutscene of shuttles landing, and then Dr. August Bradley and Addison...
Heck yeah, August Bradley.
Come to greet you. And like at first when they greet you and like you're chatting with Addison, she's like, her voice lilts up. She's saying really nice things. She's really thankful. And I wrote the note immediately. Addison came around. Great. And then we got to the end of the conversation, which is like, don't get so cocky. You haven't proved anything yet. You still suck. And I was like, and then my next note is, never mind. Fuck you, Addison. So, you know, just whiplash from that. Like, oh, she's great. Oh, no, she's not. Never mind.
Honestly, I get where Addison's coming from. Like, she's happy because, you know what? This is a success.
It's a start. Yeah.
But it is literally just one, and we still have, like, tens of thousands of people who need homes. And this is, like, one compound on a planet that is barely livable.
Yeah.
It is just becoming livable. So, like, don't celebrate. Like, she's right in a lot of ways.
Right, she's being realistic. It's just the way she words it. And the second half of the conversation is she's being really blunt and not kind.
Yeah.
It's like, let me have this one thing. But she's like, no.
Nah.
My dad is dead. I'm new on the job. Please just pat me on the back for 5 seconds.
I'm very tiny and trying really hard.
You can imagine the kind of pressure I'm under.
But yeah, then after this, they start to settle in, and now we can leave the planet and go back to the Nexus. I don't know why, but after the cutscene is over, it put me on a ridge above the town, so I was like, all right, well, I guess I'll jump down to get to my ship. And when I jumped down, it hurt me and reset me back to the top.
Oh, no.
So I had to go around the ridge to like a lower slope and like just slide off. And then I guess I didn't hit the fall damage threshold, and I was fine. And then I got on my ship. But I was like, why? Why didn't you just put me next to the ship? Like,
that
this
is
makes
weird.
no sense.
That was a glitch for sure, because I'm fairly certain it puts you near the ship at the end.
All right, so we've settled a new world. All right.
Yeah. So what did you think of Eos?
It was cool. The layout was interesting. I hated driving around it, mostly because of the rockiness of it, and like just felt like I was like drunk behind the wheel, like, and I don't drink, but like I just couldn't keep this vehicle straight to save my life. I drive like I live, curvy and gay. I don't know. I got nothing.
I was about to say you can't do anything straight.
I can't do anything straight. But I thought it was cool. The side missions were cool. We didn't really talk about them, but doing the research to solve the murder that had happened on the planet, which we talked about last time, and doing some of the additional exploring and discovering and mining. It was cool. For my first planet to explore, it didn't feel as overwhelming as I thought it might. And I ended up really, really enjoying the exploration a lot.
Well, that's good.
I also never got out of my car unless I had to. So those little bug things that keep popping up, I just kept running.
You just run them over. It's fine. And I know that you're excited about PB and Drac, but do you have anything else you want to add about them? Any thoughts?
I hope this game lets me romance a Krogan, but since it probably won't, I like PB a lot. She hits all of the buttons that are like, oh, someone's fucking with me, and put a character that I'm destined to fall in love with in this game. I don't know if she's best girl yet. I haven't decided. But I do enjoy her character a lot. And Drac is like, oh, good, another Rex or Grunt. Like, I want another badass Krogan on my team, and I get one. So those are my early thoughts. If they do let me romance a Krogan, then things are going to get real interesting. But until that day comes, I like them both so far. They're pretty cool characters.
Cool. Do you have any theories?
None. I still don't quite know where this is all headed. I'm curious to see what happens when we go back to the Nexus and talk to Tan and how he feels about this success. For those who can't see, I did air quotes with my fingers.
In case you couldn't hear it in the tone of his voice.
Yeah.
Correct. But no, I don't have any theories about the villains. Like, I don't know. I feel like there's going to be more to the Ket. I don't think they're just mindless bad guys. Because, like, we did that with the Geth in the first Mass Effect game and never really did that again. Like, every villain in the series after, and even in that game, like, they had ulterior motives. They were fighting against the like, there's always more than just bad guy bad. And so I anticipate with the Ket, that'll be the case. But I'm excited. Like, when I turned the game off and put it in like, I went further than I was supposed to anyway. But like, when I shut the game off after saving, I'm like, oh, now I've got the bug. Like, now I want to play more. Like, when we finished the first two missions, I was just like, all right, yeah, this seems cool. I'm kind of into it. Like, I was still kind of I had trepidation a bit, but now I'm like, oh, this is really fun. I want to play more. I want to see where this goes.
Heck yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of like a long tutorial almost is what those first two levels are. And then once they drop you in for real, like, then you're like, okay, now I see what's going on.
Now, I do still have gripes, and I'm still not at a place where I think this is in any way better than the original trilogy, but I'm already seeing why the initial backlash was overblown, which is unsurprising. If you spent 10 minutes on Twitter in the games community, it's all overblown. People got mad the other day because they're remaking Pokemon Diamond and Pearl and putting XP share in since the beginning. And people were like, that sucks, it's stupid. And I'm like, they're making it accessible? That's stupid? Yeah. You're stupid. Anyway.
People just like to get mad for nothing, you know?
Yeah.
Right. And so I am already enjoying Andromeda. I don't know if I'll want to replay it like the other games. We'll see. But I think I need more of the story to really know that. And we've still got a long road to go. But I'm definitely at a point where I can safely say I am enjoying this game and I'm eager to play more.
Yay. I'm glad.
I would be very off-brand if I didn't say I do obviously love Mass Effect 1 through 3 more than Andromeda. But Andromeda, just like you said, is far greater than people kind of give it credit for. I also get that I think that if you played it like immediately when it came out, I'm sure because they tend to put out stuff that's very buggy and stuff like that, I'm sure it was probably way less accessible and fun to play. But Andromeda is a much better game than people give them credit for. And so with that being said, give me Andromeda 2. And I'm going to be at the front gate with a picket sign every Friday from now until they put it out. So if you're looking for me, that's where you'll find me. Just standing there with a sign that's like, give me more Drac, give me more PB, maybe a little less Liam, or at least make him like grow up a little bit. Like, he's still a little bit like, I'm fresh out of college. I'm like, I need you to tone that down. I'm 30 now. I can't handle that kind of energy nowadays.
Yeah, I mean, well, what there's rumors galore since Mass Effect Next, which should be Mass Effect 5 because Andromeda is Mass Effect 4. Let's be real. But whatever the next Mass Effect is, they did show the Andromeda Galaxy in that teaser. It seems to take place many years later, and so we can only hope that the next game will either continue both stories or just continue Andromeda's story with some sprinkling of the Shepard saga. Who knows? It's hard to say. We don't know literally anything about it yet, but we shall see. And I'm
sure they're not ever going to go this route because, A, it's far too much, like, I do admit it's probably far too much work to do that many line readings and different, like, pathings. But I would desperately love a Mass Effect game where instead of just picking boy or girl, human, I would love for them to be like, hi, are you Krogan? Are you
Yes.
Asari?
Yeah.
Are you, like, I
Yeah.
want to be able to go, because, like, let me tell you, to me, like, sure, playing as a soldier versus a technician or whatever, that is kind of fun, but, like, let me get the experiences of different, like, play styles, particularly because, like, the different body types and, like, mindsets and everything that are so different. I want to be able to, like, romance anyone or be anyone or whatever. Like, give me all the
Yeah.
possibilities. Let me feel that new, galaxy of possibilities. You know what I'm saying?
So
Yeah.
what I would really like from an Andromeda 2 is a time jump.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want it to be Ryder necessarily. I want Ryder to be there. I want Ryder to
Yeah.
be an NPC now.
Yeah. Do the Dragon Age Inquisition thing.
Right.
Make the main character up an NPC in the next game.
Right.
Yeah.
So Ryder is an NPC. Whatever happened in Andromeda plays out for them, and we see the result like 10 years later. And now you are playing someone who is going to be a new Pathfinder.
Yeah.
So like you interact with Ryder because there's someone training you on becoming a new Pathfinder.
Yeah, and you can be anything.
Yeah.
I would love that.
If it starts off as almost like a Pathfinder Academy type thing,
Yes, that's what I want.
and then like you have the ability to essentially just like pick whichever one you then drop into essentially to be, oh, that'd be so good. Ooh, that's selling me even more. Once again, give me Andromeda 2, you cowards. I've been asking for it. I'm gonna keep asking for it.
And like, depending on the outcome with the Krogan, there could be an option to be a Krogan training to become a Pathfinder. Like,
Okay.
so many
That'd
possibilities.
be so fun.
Let's
what I
not talking about what comes next. There's a chance of spoiling what's still to come. So let's move on.
There's always stuff with the Krogan. That's not a spoiler.
That's true. But let's move on to a part that I am learning to love because I need all the help I can get. Colin and Frankie, do you have any advice for me in this new galaxy?
Yes. Upgrade the Nomad as much as you possibly can.
Okay.
Because
I didn't even know you could upgrade it, so thank you.
yes.
I mean, I kind of gave part of it earlier with like the combos, but also, I mean, like, I feel like this is kind of just like other Mass Effect games as well. But although there isn't necessarily new dialogue or anything like that after every mission, I feel like it is so important to keep up with even the people that you're kind of like, about. Keeping up with every single one of them opens up a lot of cool stuff that I feel like makes the world feel a little bit more easily, what's the word for it? Like, it's not necessarily like survival, but it is, I think, something that keeps you more invested in the world around you because you see other people's opinions of the missions, of the worlds you've been to. It paints like a bigger picture.
Okay.
And I feel like that's where a lot of criticism from Andromeda was that, like, I think a lot of people didn't see like the big picture of the whole thing. And so seeing all the different like walks of life come together to give a full image of something is very cool. And, I get how it can be very easy to skip over some NPCs. Like there are people that you can talk to that aren't people that you take with you, but they give you some pretty interesting little tidbits or just lore and just make you feel more like Andromeda could be a new home and like a fun thing to explore more of.
Cool. Okay. Thank you.
All right, awesome. Is there anything that you want to ask us about?
Will we go back to EOS?
Yes.
Okay. There are reasons to go back.
Yes.
Cool. Great. Cool.
The first visit to EOS, there are side missions that you can do, like you mentioned the first murder and the brothers McCoy, but it's kind of hard to do them with the radiation the way it is.
Mm-hmm.
Didn't stop me.
And
I'm
yet you
stubborn.
did.
Yep. That's fine.
So it can be hard to do because you have to spend a lot of time outside of your car and then it drains your life support. So I didn't want you to have to stress about it. I just wanted you to focus on the things that were accessible, and we'll go back when the planet is, less likely to
More
kill us.
habitable.
Yeah.
I've already done it, but we'll talk about it when you do it.
There will be more things waiting for us on EOS when we go back, so there will be stuff to talk about. Yes, we are going to revisit EOS. The goal is whenever we visit a planet, we'll take care of story stuff, and that'll be an episode, and then we'll revisit the planet.
Yeah.
So
That makes sense.
I think that would be the best way to handle that.
Sure.
Okay, cool. So that was it for this episode. Our next episode will be back on the Nexus to see what's changed and if there are new side missions to pick up.
Yep.
Colin, thank you so much for joining us for this episode. It was such a joy to have you back.
Thanks, buddy.
Thank you for having me. It feels great to be here for the 4-Pete.
Yeah, we love it. We love to see it. Thank you for being a devoted supporter of this podcast and being, a vocal champion for it. We appreciate you and the Scavengers Network. Why don't you take a moment to tell folks where they can find all of your awesome work, find you on the internet, and find Scavengers on the internet?
Sure. So you can find... So everything that I do is also a part of the Scavengers Network because I own it. So I feel like it'd be weird if my stuff wasn't there. Because then it's like, wait, do you not believe in your project? So you can find the Scavengers Network at scavengersnetwork.com. You can sort of peruse through our current active shows and our, dead shows, whether they came to a normal, close or, they just sort of ran their course, what have you. For example, a show that I started off with trying to make it to the Forbes 30 under 30. I then hit 30. So it was like, okay, there's no reason to keep doing a show about being under the age of 30. So that show ended this year, but there's a lot of other great shows. I am the DM or the keeper really on the season 1 of the series Myth Takes. It's an actual play podcast. We use Monster of the Week. It's a rotating cast. So there's a different set of people every arc. Characters make repeat appearances, but you never see the same team twice, which I think is very fun. A lot of scheduling to undertake, but it's very fun. And the other thing that I mentioned earlier was Timeline Scavengers. You can find that at Timeline Scav. We put out episodes currently Wednesday and Sunday, and sometime mid-2022, we'll be doing Monday, Wednesday, Friday. But definitely always Wednesday for sure, because that's when comic books are released. So we're always going to have an episode on that day no matter what. And if you want to find me personally, though, you can find me at Colin M. Parker. That is ColinMParker. And that's all that we've got going on for right now.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Colin. Again, thank you for joining us. And I'm sure we'll see you again next season for whatever we decide to do after this.
Absolutely. You'll definitely have me on when they definitely put out Andromeda 2. I got you. Yeah.
Exactly.
If you like what you heard here, you can follow us on social media. We're at ReignitePod on Twitter, Tumblr, and Instagram, facebook.com/reignitepod, or you can send us an email at reignitepod@gmail.com. Don't forget to rate, review, and subscribe on your favorite podcatcher. It helps us get seen so other people can find us.
We're also members of the Certain POV podcast network. You can visit certainpov.com to find more nerdy podcasts, each with a unique point of view. You can also find a permanent invite link to our Discord server on that same website and join in the conversation. There's a channel dedicated to keeping things from me as I explore this galaxy for the first time that I will maybe someday do a dramatic reading of way after we finish this. Who knows? But also there are tons of conversations about comic books, TV, movies, regular old books, and tons of other stuff. So please come hang out with us.
As a reminder, we're still early in the season, so if you haven't put in your guesses as to what Matt's Andromeda experience is going to be like, please go to bit.ly/storminandromeda. Give us your guesses. Who's he going to romance? Who is his favorite squad mate going to be? What's his favorite side mission going to be? What's going to make him think? Drop in any of your predictions. I have a section for your wildest predictions, and if somebody puts in a eerily accurate prediction in that field, they automatically get 40 points. Whoever has the most points at the end will win a little prize pack that I'll put together for them.
I love this, and I hate that I can't participate in it.
I mean, I guess if you want to guess what you're going to like, but I feel like you're biased.
It won't really work. Yeah, a little bit.
It's not going to work out. I put in my guesses.
Obviously.
And I just like seeing what people guess because it's like they know you.
Yeah, obviously.
Anyway, we work on some other projects. If you're enjoying Andromeda shenanigans, then you should catch me over on Archives of the Dragon every other Monday, where my spouse, Professor John Bradley Lestrange, leads us through the wild unknown outside the Helios cluster in Andromeda. You can find that at twitch.tv/Archives of the Dragon.
And you can find everything that I'm doing at www.djstormageddon.com. I am working on a ton of podcasts, both on and off Certain POV. But if you want to support the things that I and that we are doing, the best way to do that is to go to my Ko-fi or go to my merch store where I have tons of really cool t-shirts, tote bags, mugs, and stickers. that money goes directly into this and all my other podcasts and my stream. So feel free to go check all that out. And if you want to find me, just go to DJ_Starmageddon on Twitter or Instagram, because Facebook sucks. Thank you.
We'd like to thank Red Spinks for our It's Okay to Be a Marshmallow t-shirt on Redbubble, featuring our favorite marshmallow, Caden Alenko. You could find more of his work at Chaos Does Art on Instagram.
We'd also like to thank Carter's husband, Case, for developing more amazing t-shirts that are over on certainpov.com or on Teespring.
Thank you to David Boyle for redesigning our logo like a champ. And finally, thank you to JT Music and Andrea Storm Caden for our new theme music. I'm Frankie.
And I'm Matt, a.k.a. Stormageddon.
And I'm Colin Parker. Good luck, Pathfinders.
Life is a mystery. Everyone must stand alone. I hear you call my name, and it feels like home. Feels like home.
Hey, Nerf herders.
You sure you want to go with that?
Hey, everyone.
There we go. More inviting.
Have you ever had a movie that you really wanted to love, but something holds you back?
Or one that you did love in spite of a flaw?
Well, I'm Case Aiken,
And I'm Sam Alisea.
and on Another Pass, we sit down with cool guests to look at movies that we find fascinating,
But flawed.
and we try to imagine what could have been done when they were made to give them that little push.
We're not experts. We just believe in criticism.
Constructive criticism.
Sure.
So come take another pass at some movies with us.
And every now and then we can celebrate movies that did it on their own too.
You can find us at certainpov.com or wherever you get your podcasts.
Pass it on.
CPOV. CertainPOV.com.